when it comes to physical activity, or when it comes to a professional athlete or a bodybuilder, nutrition plays a very important role. And when you make a best choice with nutrition and hydration, you get the best result. You do your performance even better. So today we're just talking about health and fitness with Shane Watson. So Shane, tell us, how's your stay in India so far?
It's been a quick one so far. I arrived last night from Sydney, but look, I always absolutely love coming to India. So and having a chance to be able to continue to meet so many great people is a privilege.
Oh, perfect. And you often come to India to play cricket, right? And how do you cope up with Indian spicy food?
Look, I love Indian food. I love the flavours. I don't really handle, like, I like flavoured spice, like chili, like flavour, but not spice or chili just for the sake of chili. Especially with Indian people grow up with a bit more spicy food compared to Australians who have steak with a little bit of pepper and salt on it. So, but look, I love Indian food. That's the beauty of coming here is being able to have some of the most incredible food that you can have in the world.
Perfect. So one food item you really enjoy eating here? Indian food.
I'd say I love bindi. It's absolutely beautiful. So you can't get it anywhere like you get it here. So it's, Australians don't do okra well at all.
Perfect. And one food you don't like, you don't enjoy eating?
I don't enjoy a vindaloo. It's way like a really hot, spicy chicken dish or something like that. It's just I get the hiccup straight away. There's no point in eating it.
Perfect. So coming back to nutrition, how important, according to you, is nutrition in a sports person life?
That's one of the most important things that you actually do in preparation for a game. And look, I've always, as you probably get an idea about now, I'm always someone to challenge the status quo, and read up and try and find other ways of doing things better. And initially, there's this huge push in Australia and with athletes, the low-fat, high-carb diet, where you're carb loading before a game, which I used to do all the time. But then started to read a fair bit of literature around sugar, and when there's low fat and the fat's been taken out of it, means that sugar's being introduced to be able to provide some flavour. So then started to read a lot about more so the high fat, low carb diet, which I tried and I did for probably about 2 years, which I felt gave me sustained energy for longer periods of time. And then I started reading up on fasting, like intermittent fasting as well.
Right.
And the benefits, the physical, also physiological benefits of fasting, from brain health to general health as well. Which I love my food, and I eat quite a lot. So fasting means that my digestive system, even once a week, has a chance to be able to relax and worry about trying to repair. So I'm always trying to find better ways. And when it comes to hydration, for me, especially being an all-rounder, knowing that if I have a really good day, then I'm going to be bowling my maximum overs, and I'm going to be hopefully scoring a lot of runs. My preparation hydration has to be spot on. Otherwise, I'm prone to cramping. So, and since I really worked out a strategy that worked for me really well, probably around 2010. I haven't cramped since, but it takes preparation, having the right supplements in the lead up to a game to make sure that I don't cramp and I'm able to perform at my best.
Just to add on to that, I think hydration also makes you less fatigued during your play.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when it's really hot, and for me, more so really humid. So playing in Chennai or Mumbai, for example, when it's very humid, I sweat a lot, and also I overheat fairly quickly as well. So that for me is that's a really challenging condition to me. So hydration is absolutely key for me to be able to give myself the best chance of performing from a physical point of view.
So talking about hydration and food, we all know that when you eat right, it helps you to improve your performance. It enhances your recovery. It promotes your concentration. So let's talk about pre-workout and post-workout food, like how important it is.
Yeah, look, of course, it's very important with fueling yourself before you actually go and exercise or go and play, and then obviously refueling and limiting the muscle breakdown that you possibly can. But the one thing that I'm really passionate about is sugar, and because we see the epidemic that's around with diabetes, early onset of diabetes, which I know only too well with my father getting late onset diabetes, primarily through his lifestyle and through his diet, and then seeing it from my kids, going to the birthday parties that I go to and seeing just the buffet of sugar that's available for these kids. It just sets up a bad trend for the rest of their life, because you can see, even from my own kids, you see them change from when they're not having sugar to when they then have some sugar, and they go crazy. They don't know how to be actually normal and be still. And the effects that it has on concentration levels for kids at school makes it very difficult for teachers to be able to teach young kids that are high on sugar. But then also we see the horrific and devastating effects that diabetes has on society as well, all around the world. And primarily that comes from how much sugar that we ingest, even at times even unknowingly, with what's actually in so many foods that we just have no clue.
Alright, so what is your current fitness regime, like health and fitness regime? Like what do you do for your fitness level?
Well, now that I've got an off season and a break after the IPL, I had a little bit of time and a holiday in Italy with my wife, and there was a fair bit of carbo loading that happened there with pizza and pasta for that time. But look, now that I'm getting back into all my training, I'm training 6 to 7 times a week, making sure that I'm doing my fasting during those 7 days as well, and just being very smart around my fueling before and after training as well.
Like earlier, old days, we used to have test match, 1-day match. Now it is 2020, so there's a lot of stress and strain on the young generation. It's alarming. So we all know that you are into yoga and meditation. So how does it help in your stress management?
The one thing that I learned the hard way was that I didn't handle my stress and anxiety that well, and that for me ended up creating soft tissue injuries. My neural system would just get oversensitive, and then I'd normally get a calf injury or hamstring injury. So, which is when I actually started reading some Ayurvedic books, especially Deepak Chopra's Perfect Health, which just changed my perspective on all things, especially the inner health. Which is where I started meditating, which is my part of now my ritual leading into a game, to be able to just get my mind clear and desensitize my neural system. But also yoga is also part of my, every time I train, every time that I play, to be able to lengthen my, especially my neural system and muscles, but also it gives me a time to be able to get into a calm, still space as well, knowing that when I get into playing, my mind's going to be on the go, and I need all the mental energy that I possibly can have.
You just spoke about injury. Nowadays, what a sports person, they think that injury is a part of training, whereas it's your imbalance in your nutrition level, imbalance in your diet. So what's your take on that?
Look, I think it's not one or the other. I think it's a combination of all. It's to do with your training, and there's so much now on. Everyone just is going to the gym and getting bigger and stronger, but that doesn't actually mean you're functionally stronger. Cricket's a skill-based game, and you need to make sure that you have got the skills to be able to perform at your best. And this is where a perfect example of this is what's happened with Nmami Agarwal recently. He had an incredible IPL, performed very well to be able to get picked for the Indian one-day team, and then because he didn't make a specific level on a fitness test, meant that he actually didn't go on tour. which for me is mind-blowing, knowing that cricket's a skill-based game. You need to have world-class skills to be able to play at the international level, and as long as your fitness is not affecting your performance, as soon as your fitness is starting to affect your performance, then of course then something has to be done about it, and maybe you don't get picked for a team. But when Nmami Agarwal, fitness has never been a part of his performance at all. He's a fit guy, he's got the skill, he's got incredible skills, but then he doesn't have a chance to be able to play for his national team because he doesn't hit a certain fitness target, which I find mind-blowing.
Perfect. So along with diet, physical activity should also be taken.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a combination of all. You need to make sure that your diet is very strong. You need to make sure that your training, your physical training is not too loaded with weights. That you're doing aerobic fitness and more so just functional fitness, which is specific to actually what you need to do during the day. Whether that's picking up kids, or whether it's actually being out there trying to bowl fast. It's just what's functionally your body needs to be able to do. That with yoga, meditation, to be able to desensitize your system, your neural system, then it's more so a holistic approach. It's not one or the other, because you need it all to be synergizing together to be able to make sure that it works.
Perfect. So for injury, eat a lot, eat lots of carbs, keep coming in the calcium, and plus physically active. Is it?
I wouldn't say it's not eating a lot of carbs. It's just specifically the right, the energy source that you need, and everyone's body is different and what they need. So it's just understanding what works best for you. But hydration plays a huge part. Training, making sure your training is very specific to what you need, and then diet, making sure that what you eat is specific to what actually works for you.
Your body needs, right? So, do you have anything that you follow religiously now that you never used to follow before?
Yeah, well, one thing I don't drink any sports drinks at all. The one thing when I first came into the Australian team, Gatorade was a major sponsor of Australian cricket, so we always got pushed down the path of drinking sports drinks. But the more that I read into it, there's obviously an incredible amount of sugar in those types of drinks. It's more so just being very specific to be able to get the right electrolytes, which is the most important part of sports drinks, to be able to make sure that your muscles don't fatigue less anyway, and don't cramp. That was one thing that I definitely don't do.
So who's your fitness or health inspiration?
My fitness and health inspiration is Tom Brady. To be able to watch his documentary that he produced, Tom versus Time, was a huge inspiration for an older athlete still being able to be his absolute prime. The lengths that he goes to be able to get the best out of himself is fascinating.
And your one guilty pleasure that you would eat any time of the day? One thing.
Look, I do love ice cream. Yeah.
But isn't it full of sugar then, again?
It is, but I grew up on it, so it's only my guilty pleasure very rarely.
Perfect. So you opened a sports clinic. Let's Activate, one of its kind. So tell us something about that.
Yeah, so Let's Activate is set up for between 2 and 6 year olds to be able to learn and develop gross motor skills. And it's through our business partner, and Let's Activate is a former Wiggle, and Wiggles in Australia and in the US is a huge kids music program that so the guy who was a founding member of the Wiggles has written songs that specifically tie into specific movements, sports movements, whether it's catching, throwing, kicking a ball, to be able to learn indirectly how to move and how to develop those skills. So then when you develop your confidence and you move into slightly older, 7, 8, 9, you've developed the confidence to know that you can actually do that, and you've developed those skills indirectly to then follow on and actually continue to lead a healthy lifestyle. Because there's definitely a breakdown around when you become more self-conscious of yourself as a young kid, where you start to feel a bit embarrassed if you don't have the actual you don't have the coordination, and you'll pull back, and actually then it means there's less chance of you living that healthy lifestyle moving forward.
That's great. So do you think that nutrition and fitness should be taught to children right from the starting of the age, like teach them young?
Absolutely, and the onus is on the parents. It all starts with the parents. You're the one with your kids all the time. You're the ones who actually set up what they get used to. What's the general norm? And there's no question it's a huge challenge, because if my wife and I feed my son and daughter a certain food, and they go and see their other friends going to eat some fast food or drink some soft drink, then they're interested in what that tastes like. So it is a constant challenge, but the onus is fully 100% on the parents to be able to educate your child, to be able to give them the best foundation in their life, instead of just allowing them to run free with all the processed food and everything that's out there now, which is having a devastating effect on the health of all the young people coming through.
Totally agree. And do you wish that one healthy habit that you had adopted earlier, like in your childhood?
Yeah, not getting into ice cream.
Fair enough. So, one advice you would like to give to young budding sports person?
Yeah, it's more so understanding that it's a holistic approach to your health. It's not just the diet, your diet. It's not just physical activity. It's not just recovery. It's all together to be able to actually give yourself the best chance. But most importantly, living a healthy life. Whether you become an athlete, a professional athlete or not, it's more so just living a really healthy life. And it is very challenging with all the temptations that are around from all the processed foods and all the big companies that are trying to take down the next generation with their foods. There's temptations everywhere. So it's just instilling that strength in the next generation to be able to not dive into those temptations, and continue to live a really healthy lifestyle, so they can live a long life and also less pressure on the healthcare systems throughout the world.
Fair enough, agreed. So I also feel that food is the 80%, your diet is your 80% or 70%, and the rest is your physical activity. So totally agree with you. Diet, physical activity, your lifestyle, and your hydration, and everything comes into consideration. Food is your fuel, and if you fuel yourself the right way, it will keep you at an optimum level to perform. Yeah, true. So yes, it was so good to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nmami. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go on, I would urge you to join our online conversation.